A lucky man. When Lincoln met Alexis years earlier, they were equals. He was as handsome as she was beautiful and bright, and despite their age difference, he had as much to expect from the coming years as she did. Lincoln courted her with a passion rooted in his certainty about himself. He'd been a good student and had excelled at boxing and football. His life had been full of prizes, trophies, and scholarships. He'd had more than his share of attention from women and had enjoyed the warmth and cheer of many men. He thought often about the question of what lay ahead in his life, but when he tried to see its exact outlines, he couldn't. It was indistinct with light. It had been this way with her, too. At Garfield's bar, he would tell his buddies how it hurt to look at her, and they would agree, mistaking his words for their usual hyperbole about women. On one of those nights at Garfield's, it occurred to him briefly that love was pain. When he was engaged to Alexis, his friends would tell him how lucky he was, but this was said as a joke. Lincoln would say thank you and agree, would tell them how grateful he was for her, but this wasn't true. He deserved her. This was what he believed, and he knew this was what his friends believed in. A man of a kind should get what he deserves, and if a man like him couldn't get a woman like her, then something was terribly wrong with the world. Do her friends tell her she's lucky, Lincoln wondered. Has her mother told her to give thanks for her man? She might be saying it now as they picked out plums and nectarines together at the fruit market, or sat out on the porch shelling peas. But surely this was foolish thinking, just as foolish as thinking their daughter, Tamika, would spend these years breaking the hearts of any eager Georgetown boy who wasn't like her father. Lincoln came to understand that this, too, had always been a part of his vision for himself, to have children who adored him, a son who resembled and worshipped him, a daughter for whom no other man would ever measure up. This was part of what he couldn't see before he married. But there was no son, and the years of their daughter's life had marked his decline. She had grown up watching it. His professional gambles with the boxing gyms and the attempts at training and managing had failed. Now his charm and stature no longer earned him opportunities, and in New York he had no reputation. He was lucky, he knew, to have his job, steady and respectable work, but years ago he and his wife had deserved each other. Time had not treated them equally. Why did he expect otherwise, though? With any two people, one would get the brunt of it, and time had hit him worse than any beating he'd ever seen in the ring. He felt it had brutalized him. One day his wife's looks would go. Creases would line her face, the skin there would loosen and thin, pouches would form under her eyes, maybe little dewlaps like his under the jaw. And her mind would start to slip and show weakness too. Everything cracks eventually, but when? How long would it be his good fortune to have her? How long until he could just plain have her again? Her smooth face. Even after all these years, he longed for it, to rub his cheek against hers and breathe hot words into her hair. There'd been no diminishment of that feeling. He still had those appetites, and she did too. Yet he also felt the urge to press the sharps of his teeth against her face, to bite down and place the first deep crack in it. But Lincoln was a man with luck. Yes, he still had it. People said so, and they were right. Good fortune can change in an instant, however, or it might never. But whatever it does has nothing to do with you. For years it had persisted in following him. It went home from work with him, lived with his family, claimed a space between him and his wife in their bed. She still had her light, but his was his luck. If it left him, she would too. No one would blame her. Or maybe Lincoln's luck had already abandoned him. His wife was gone now after all. Or maybe Lincoln was the one with wrong notions. Maybe, slumped now in the chair at his desk, unable to muster the little strength it took to hold in his belly, it was his luck that he was alone with.